Okay, welcome to the front gate area of the Mount Hope Cemetery. The Mount Hope Cemetery is located in Rochester, New York. It's located off of Mount Hope Avenue. The cemetery was founded in 1807 and was the first municipal cemetery in America. Some key people who are buried here are Susan B. Anthony, women's suffragette, and Frederick Douglass, an abolitionist. Another important person who is buried here is Colonel Nathaniel Rochester. He was the founder of Rochester, New York, and the city's namesake. Recently, people have been calling for Rochester's name and monument to be removed from the cemetery due to his relationship with slavery in the early 1800s. While Rochester himself didn't own slaves, he did participate in business that involved the usage of slavery. So many people are calling for his likenesses and monuments to be torn down in the city. Mount Hope Cemetery is massive with many different burial sites. You can see here on the map. Burial site number 17 is where Frederick Douglass is located, and Susan B. Anthony is up in the double M section as well. It is the largest cemetery in New York State, and contains tens of thousands of graves for the people in and around Rochester, New York. Buffalo Bill's children are also buried here, interestingly enough, and many other famous people, including Civil War leaders and World War I, World War II, and Spanish-American War soldiers. Okay, we are here at the monument of Frederick Douglass at Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York. Well, we cannot make it up to his grave today because the road is closed by park officials and no one's allowed up there right now. I would imagine there's some sort of ceremony or something like that happening, so we can't go up there. But Frederick Douglass, while not born here in Rochester, New York, was certainly buried here due to how much work he did as an abolitionist in the area. Douglass was born a slave in Maryland. His master's wife taught him how to read, which was highly illegal. And this skill would become Douglass's greatest weapon in the fight against slavery and oppression of African Americans in the United States. Douglass fled Maryland disguised as a Navy soldier on a ship, and eventually wound up here in Rochester, New York. While here in Rochester, he wrote an anti-slavery newspaper called the North Star, in which people read all about his ambitions to end slavery in the United States. Douglass also wrote an autobiography called The Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, a true story about an American slave. The Life of an American Slave, a true story about the life of Frederick Douglass. And the book caught fire. It was sold overseas. Douglass spoke overseas. And he was so famous that he even was invited to speak to President Lincoln at the White House. Douglass died in Washington, D.C., but requested he be buried here in Rochester, New York, where he did most of his work in the fight against slavery. Hello, I'm standing here at Susan B. Anthony's grave here at Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York. Susan B. Anthony was a famous women's suffragette. She was from Rochester, New York. She was born on February 15th, 1820, and she died on March 13th, 1906. Susan B. Anthony spent her entire life fighting for equal rights for women. She is known for her involvement at the Seneca Falls Convention, which is one of the largest women's suffrage movements gatherings in the world, especially at the time. Susan B. Anthony is buried here in Rochester, New York, because she lived here her whole life. Her house is located deeper within the city limits. Susan B. Anthony is known as one of the most famous women's suffragettes, and did a lot to further the cause of equality for all people in the United States of America. Every election season, people flock to Susan B. Anthony's grave to place their I voted stickers on the grave to show how much her impact did for them in the future. If you look, you can see people have placed stickers of other women suffragettes: Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Ida B. Wells, and Sojourner Truth. Susan B. Anthony is a very important character or figure to the people of Rochester, and many people come to her grave to see it every single year.